Hey guys, Johnny Old School here, and who's in charge of reality? Bit of an odd question, I know, but I can do my best to explain what I mean to you guys as the video progresses. Who's in charge of reality? Well, there's some of us out there who think that there's maybe some sort of divine entity, like a god or a force or a consciousness from which all their consciousness comes from, that essentially dictates and controls and manifests things that either are there or they're not. Now, the thing about that is, I don't really feel I'm capable of proving whether or not a god exists in a YouTube video, so I'm just gonna kind of leave that one out of discussion for now. Another thought regarding who's in charge of reality would be, well, nobody. How could anyone be in charge of what's real and what isn't? If something's real, it's just kind of there. If it's not real, it's just not there. And yet, we all have a different opinion of what's real and what isn't. Let me give you guys an example of what I mean here. For thousands and thousands of years, people across all cultures and all religions and races and creeds have reported seeing things in the sky, objects, crafts, and reported interacting with things that have come out of those crafts, beings, entities, aliens, extraterrestrials. Now, we all know this. We all know that there are countless, literally countless stories out there of people who have allegedly had these experiences. And yet, despite the fact that we know that, not all of us believes those were real. Let's break down each school of thought regarding this subject of alien life. The people at one of the extremes believe that all those stories are 100% completely made up and fabricated, and there's all sorts of various sort of explanations that they've come up with to discount basically every single one of the stories. So these people on this side believe they are all 100% fake, that no aliens exist whatsoever, they've never come here, they've never interacted with us at all. Bar none, case closed, full stop. Then you have people kind of over here who think that, well, maybe it's possible that, I don't know, maybe some of those stories could be true. They're probably most of them are like, just made up, like hoaxes or crazy people. Probably most of them are made up. But at the same time, given the grand, unfathomable scale of our universe, it's pretty much likely that there's a lot of different species out there, and I don't know, I guess it's possible that some of them visited here, but I don't think there's really any evidence definitively to prove that any of them have. Then you have people here. Here is one of my favorite places to be, in the middle. Those people often think that, there's a pretty good chance that a lot of those stories are maybe made up. Maybe somebody wanted attention. Maybe somebody was bored. Maybe somebody wanted to come up with an interesting article or YouTube video, or they wanted to get some money or fame, or maybe they were just a bit of a fucking asshole and they just wanted to trick the people in their city, lie to their fucking friends about some amazing thing. But maybe that only makes up about half of them, Maybe a lot of the other stories are actually true. Maybe this is an actual phenomena that's going on, and we should really be looking into it. Next, you kind of have the group that's a little bit over here, where they tend to be a little bit naive and gullible sometimes. These sorts of people could listen to a story that somebody over here would listen to and believe it far too readily than they should. And then lastly, you have the people on the other extreme side who completely believe all of it, 100%, full stop, bar none. Aliens are completely real. Yep, they've been coming here. Like all these different stories that we have in our culture, they're all true. All of them are true. I'll believe anything. So let's look at the contrast between those two extremes. This side believes none of the stories about extraterrestrials are true, and this side believes all of them are true. So who decides what is real and what isn't real? Who's in charge of reality? I first want to talk about the people on the far extreme of this side, mainly because it's going to be easier for me to. I've talked to plenty of people from this side about the subject, and there's a few different reasonings they have of why they're over here, not over here like I am. One of the most common reasons that I'm given is that, well, Johnny, if aliens were real and they were visiting us, then we just know already. My counterpoint to that is, well, a lot of people out there already seem to know, at least in their minds, and there's a lot of them. You want to conduct a little experiment, next time you're in public and just talking to some random people, ask them like, hey, do you think aliens exist? See what they have to say. You'll probably get some very interesting answers. The people on this side often say there's simply no proof. There just isn't any proof that the fact that they exist or the fact that they've visited us at all. I then like to ask the people on this side, well, what would constitute as proof to you? What would change your mind and make you believe 100% forever that extraterrestrials existed and that they're visiting here and interacting with people. There's a couple answers I get from that. One of them is if a ship landed right in front of me and creatures got out of it. Yeah, that'd be pretty fucking definitive proof, I gotta say. The thing is, though, is that there's plenty of things that I've never seen, which I'm pretty sure are real. I've never been to a circus before. I've never even seen the outside of a circus. But a lot of people out there say that circuses exist, and I think that they probably do. I have fairly good reason to trust the people in my life who have told me about experiences they've had where, yeah, I was at a circus once. Yeah, there's elephants and acrobats and clowns. It was a blast. So I can be fairly sure that there probably are circuses. Now, if I was highly skeptical, if something about the idea of circuses just really rubbed me the wrong way, I could say, nah, you know what? You're just making that up. You're fucking making it up. I don't care what you say. Circuses don't exist until I go to one. And with that thought, you create a reality. You create a reality where circuses aren't real. And that idea to you is reality. That is real. The fact that circuses don't exist is real. You're in charge of your reality. Now that would mean that there's actually parallel realities that people exist in. You could walk past a person in the street who's been to a circus and has seen elephants and acrobats and clowns, and to them, of course, the circus is real. But to you, it's not. And you will live your entire life in a way where circuses aren't a thing that exists, as if they weren't real at all. And that's the exact same life you would live if they really weren't real. Let that sink in for a moment. Now, here's another common thing I hear from this side of the spectrum regarding the whole issue of aliens and extraterrestrials. What would constitute as 100% diehard evidence to prove it to you once and for all? A very common one that comes up during my conversations is disclosure. If somebody got on TV and said, holy fucking shit, there's fucking aliens. You know, somebody who is respected and trusted, like a politician, a TV personality, like somebody who you would never really expect to lie about that kind of thing. If the president of the United fucking States got on TV and said, holy shit, there's fucking aliens, I think just about everyone everywhere would say to themselves, holy shit, there really is fucking aliens. So in that situation, who's creating your reality? If you're only willing to believe something at the word of someone else, you're essentially giving away your power to dictate your reality to somebody else. Now at this point, some of you watching might be saying to yourselves, but Johnny, none of this actually affects what actually is real. If something out there exists, whether or not you accept it or not, it's still out there. Is it? I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the Schrodinger's cat thought experiment, but for those of you who haven't, I'll give you just kind of a brief run through of it. Let's say I take my little kitty friend here and I put him inside a box. He loves boxes. And let's say that along with him in the box, and I would never do this because that little fucker's one of my best goddamn friends, but let's say that along with him in the box, I put some poison. And then I seal up the box. A couple of different things could happen. My cat could eat the poison and die. My cat could not eat the poison and live. But as long as that box remains sealed, I don't know what's happened. And that essentially means that he is both alive and dead. Until, of course, I open up the box and find out. But until I do, until I perceive whether or not he's alive or dead, he's both. It's a little weird to wrap your head around, I know. But think of it this way. I could live my life from then on thinking that, well, of course he's still alive. My little cat friend's in there, he's fine. I would go around my day and be all happy and whatnot, and as if I had my cat friend with me still. Or I could choose to think to myself, he's dead. Oh my god, my cat friend is dead. And I'd be sad, I'd be fucking devastated. I'm gonna cry like a fucking baby who was just hit with a hammer when that little fur ball died. Both of those options are available to me. Because, as I just said, technically he's both. So I have those two options to choose from. I can be in charge of which direction of reality I want to follow from that. Now again, some of you are probably saying, Johnny, regardless of your choice, that doesn't actually affect whether or not the cat in the box is alive or dead. If you think he's dead and he's alive, then that's reality. The thing is, that reality doesn't kind of come into reality to affect anything until I open the box. And I'm in charge of whether or not I open the box. Essentially, what we think is. And a lot of people really do not like to talk about this subject because it's an immense level of responsibility. We're in charge of our reality. We're so much in charge that we can choose to give that power away and have their decision become our reality. Now, obviously, this is a very large idea. I can't simply just say to myself, well, I believe that in my reality, my beer fridge is stocked. Because it ain't. But I already knew that. But I'd like it to be stocked. So I'm gonna put beer in it. There's an example of how my choice created a reality that didn't exist before. When I first opened the door, there was no beer. I had beer on the floor. I put beer in there because I wanted it to be cold. Aside from that decision, reality would be that my beer wasn't cold. Now you might be saying to yourself here, well, Johnny, how far does this go? Are you saying that if I believe aliens are real, they become real? I don't know if that's what I'm saying. You could think of it like this, though. If time and space are essentially infinite, if an infinite number of parallel universes and possibilities are all happening all at the same time, then right now, you might be existing in a dimension where aliens don't exist. And by deciding to yourself that they might, you might push yourself over to a dimension where they do. What if it's as simple as that? You might be saying, well, Johnny, it can't be that simple. What if you can choose to push yourself into the dimension where it is that simple? Now, as long as we're on the topic of odd things, I'll give you another example. You guys might not like the whole extraterrestrial example, so I'll give you guys another one. Have you ever heard of something called astral projection? Understanding of astral projection is being able to reach a very deep meditative trance where your consciousness is actually able to travel outside of your physical body. You can actually see things in your physical reality not attached to your body. You can project yourself outside of yourself, out of your apartment, down the street, down the block, into the park that you go to, and see somebody sitting on the bench. Then snap back into your body and walk down there and see that same person. And with a phenomenon like that, just like with the extraterrestrial subject, you get those different sort of schools of thought along a little scale there. People on this side would say, well, of course it isn't real. If that was real, everyone would know. We'd be told about it. I suppose the points I would submit to somebody of that opinion would be the human body is capable of things that we're only beginning to learn about. Have you ever heard of a man named Wim Hof? Probably not. He holds the Guinness World Record for longest time being submerged in ice. This crazy motherfucker found a way to mentally control his own body temperature, to regulate his internal processes, and he can literally submerge himself completely in ice for hours on end and be fine. And this is 100% documented. This is on Guinness Book of World Records. Debunkers came along with thermal cameras and looked into his core body temperature and monitored his heart rate. It's real. This guy can actually do this. It gets even weirder though. He got to the point where he could control his own immune system. And this is all well documented. Google the name Wim Hof, W-I-M-H-O-F. See for yourself. Now, you know what's strange to me? How come this isn't worldwide, international fucking news? Holy shit, human beings have the ability to regulate their immune system and not experience the sensations of cold. This guy's fucking climbed Mount Everest in his boxer shorts. Why isn't that in every major news publication? Why isn't this being touted as like the next stage of human evolution? These are important questions that we should be asking ourselves. Why isn't this a huge deal? Because if one guy can do it, the rest of us can probably do it. The real question is, how the fuck did he figure that out? I don't know. I don't know his process. I don't know his mechanism or how he gets himself to those states or how he got himself to this point where he had that much mastery over his own body. But I can tell you this, if he truly believed that that was impossible, if he truly believed that it was outside the realms of reality for him to be able to do that, he wouldn't be able to do it. He wouldn't just be like walking out in the cold one day and just be like, huh, I don't feel cold. I'm gonna lie down in the snow. Huh, I still don't feel cold. Oh, I guess I just don't feel cold anymore. I've looked into him a little bit, and I haven't read his book or anything, but he uses forms of meditation and yoga to be able to do this, to the point where he's actually able to teach it to people, apparently. Part of him said to himself, I decide what's possible. He opened that door, and he walked through it, and went looking, and he found something. He found something that's normally been reserved to comic books and superheroes. His book is called Becoming the Iceman, Pushing Past Perceived Limits. How many limitations can you guys think of in your life that were put there by someone else? Somebody else said, that's not possible. That's outside the realm of science. There's absolutely no proof of that. Before you heard about this man in this video, Wim Hof, did you think it was possible to be submerged in ice and not fucking die? If you think this is an easy feat that you could do it yourself, go to your kitchen right now, grab a pitcher of water, fill it up with ice cubes from your freezer, and then pour water in it. Stick your hand in it, and start a timer, and post in the comments how far you got. If you get past 10 minutes without recoiling your arm in horrific pain, I'll buy you a fucking beer. Now, if this man, Wim Hof, were to go to a doctor and say, hey, is it possible for me to be submerged in ice for an hour and a half and not die? The doctor would say, of course not. You will die. Don't do that. There is absolutely no evidence that it is possible at all for anyone to do that. You will die. You cannot do that. Now, obviously, if you're a bit of a nutcase and you're like, sure I can, you jumped into a freezing river, you'd probably fucking die. But if you thought to yourself, what if there is? What if there is? What if I'm the one who creates my reality? And let's say you set about to do it. Wim Hof did it. He made something real that wasn't real before. Something that went against every known, accepted, logical, reasonable, rational understanding of the previous reality. He shot that out of the fucking water. So let's go back to something like the astral projection thing. To anyone out there watching who believes that isn't possible, why? Well, there's no conclusive proof that it was done, and yet people from various different spiritual teachings say is possible and claim to be able to do. So if you choose to disregard them, you're essentially creating a reality where that isn't possible. And I suspect the other, I guess, sort of argument or point you would make would be that, well, if that was possible, we would all know. Either through, disclosure by somebody that we've given away our responsibility for creating reality to, or through experiencing it our actual selves. So I'll submit this to you all watching. The next time you come across sort of a strange, unexplained phenomena that some people seem to think is real, but something inside you says that's bullshit, how fearless could you be in examining why you think that way? How brave could you be to go into yourself and figure out what started your thought of why that isn't possible? Could you be fearless enough to discover that the reason you think it isn't possible is because you don't want to admit the fact that you've given away responsibility for your reality to somebody else? Could you be fearless enough to admit the fact that the reason you just can't accept that is because you've lived 30 years on this planet and you have a pretty good head on your fucking shoulders, and if you were to accept this fact, you'd have to start from square one. You'd have to rethink all that you built up until now, all your understanding and mastery of the world. You'd have to wipe the chalkboard clean, and you're just not willing to do that. Could you be fearless enough to acknowledge that the reason you think maybe something isn't real or isn't possible is because you yourself haven't experienced it, because you've decided that you can't experience it? Understand that nowhere in our world do we have examples of instantaneous creation. plant a seed, it takes a while for it to grow into a tree. You want beer in your fridge, you gotta work at a job for a couple days, get your paycheck, go down to the beer store and put the beer in your fridge. So if you decide to yourself, holy shit, I'm in charge of creating my own reality, take lessons from the other forms of creation you see around you. Understand that it's a process. It's not an instantaneous thing, it doesn't happen overnight. But like planting a seed and having it grow into a tree, it does happen. That tree does grow. And you were the one who planted the seed for it. Your choice created a reality where the tree now exists somewhere that it didn't before. We were in charge of our reality. And yeah, that's fucking heavy. I'm Johnny Oldschool for Third Voice, and reality I'm about to create for my own life is finishing this beer and going the fuck to bed, because I gotta work tomorrow morning. Take care, fuckos. Ugh. I gotta create a reality where I buy better beer. Kinda getting sick of old mill these days. If you like this video, please create a reality where you like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And if you don't, I'll create the reality of my fist in your face. I'm just kidding. But I will have sex with your mom.